We're now live on. Oh yes, London. You're in Canada. Sorry. Yeah. So here we go. Let me just switch over screens. Here we go. So what I wanted to do today was tell you about my journey with Natalie's business. Now, most of you that are here, you've heard me talk in the past about Natalie Jane Parker, who's a friend of mine. And a few years ago, I convinced her to experiment with trying to sell her prints online. And what I wanted to do today was share that journey with you and just show you how we did it, show you the things we concentrated on, some of the hurdles along the way, and just walk through that process. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions coming out of today. What I do ask is if you could keep your questions related to today's presentation, because I'm not going to get through them all. Let's focus on what I'm talking about today. And if you've got other questions, you have my email address. Okay, shoot me an email. And I'm happy to answer other questions after the fact. But during the webinar, what I'm going to do is focus on what we're talking about today. So these are the things that I want to talk about. So number one, how we validated the art, right? And I think that's important as a starting point. How we grew the Facebook following to over 15,000 and growing. And I'm going to show you how you can do that for your business. How we built our email address to over 16,000, and we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to invest in our email list every single month. What we invest our money in, and importantly, what we don't invest our money in. And some of the questions that I think people get stuck on, and specifically markups, mediums, and options. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as well. And we're going to walk through it. Like I said, I'm happy to answer questions if they're related to what I'm talking about today. Okay, any other questions, shoot me an email and we'll deal with them at another time. So let's just be clear, just so that everybody's on the same page. This is not my business. Well, it's not my art, all right? So Natalie Jane Parker is a friend of mine. I've known Natalie for 12, 13 years. And she's been a professional artist her entire career. She came out of school, she started painting, and she's continued to paint now for her entire career. So she's been painting for over 30 years, okay? But she's never really sold prints, and certainly up until I started working with her, didn't have an online presence. She had a couple of licensing deals, one of them with a homewares manufacturer, so mugs, tea towels, things like that. She had done some limited edition prints in the past, and I can tell you how old those limited edition prints were. She was back in the days when she was doing them, they were printed using plates, okay? So she would have to order 100 prints at a time, and they were printed on plates. And honestly, the quality difference between what you could do, 20, 30 years ago using plates compared to what you can do today using digital printing is like they're chalk and cheese. Digital printing is just amazing. And the quality and the longevity of the prints is so much better. I've seen some of Natalie's older prints that have been on the walls in people's houses, and the color's starting to fade. A high quality giclée print, which is what we use for most of our work, certainly won't have that fading after 20 years. They're basically most high-end giclée is guaranteed for 50 to 100 years. So, that's the start. But Nat really hadn't sold online, and she wasn't looking for an outlet to sell her originals, right? So we're only selling prints. We're only selling calendars and cards and other things, but we're not selling originals via the website. So I just want to make that clear before we start, because I think it's really important. So if you haven't seen Natalie's work, this dingo, it's a dingo, and it's very hard to see here, but this is a native Australian bee. So I'm sure most of you have never seen a native Australian bee, and we do have hundreds of them. This one actually has a blue bum, not a yellow bum, like a normal bee. Okay, so they're quite interesting. Dingo is a native Australian dog, and this is, one of Nat's images. It's a great place to start, but she exclusively paints Australian wildlife. So she doesn't paint anything else. She doesn't paint pet dogs. She doesn't paint any other animals that are exotic. She only paints the native things. So that's the starting point. So how do we validate the art? And this was really important, not just for me, but for getting Natalie's commitment to beginning the business that we have today. Okay. So Natalie been selling in galleries. She had a Facebook following and Instagram following of around 2,000 on each platform. She had people who were buying her art in the gallery, and the gallery, they've got a range of Australian wildlife artists that they support. They've got other artists that they support, but they've got probably 7 or 8 wildlife artists on their books. So Natalie was selling her work through there, but she wasn't getting any additional income from her originals. And, galleries, as galleries are, they charge 40% commission. So she's only getting 60% of the money that she's generating from those original sales. And while she had some licensing deals, she wasn't getting any ongoing income from her original works that she was painting. So, and this is the thing that I saw as an opportunity by offering prints was a way for her to get more income and to grow her profile. And that's where we started. So to start with, we actually put on my photography website, we added a gallery of Natalie's work. Okay, because we wanted to test it. We wanted to see if we could sell it. So we put a gallery of Natalie's work out and we promoted it. We told people about it. And in the first 4 months of putting that gallery onto the website, we were averaging about $1,500 in sales a month, which I took as a really good sign. And to me, it meant we needed to go to a standalone website. And we sat down, we worked out how this was going to work and all of the pieces of the puzzle for the basics. And I built the website in 2 days using art storefronts, built that website in 2 days, and then started redirecting the traffic from my website, from her gallery on my website to her own gallery. Okay. So that was the starting point. And that's where we began. And we launched that new website in May of 2019. So that's 2.5 years ago now. And the goal was to build an online business for Natalie's work and to grow that. And, initially we had some small goals, but today the goals are big, and I'm going to talk about those shortly. But the validation of the art was really important to make sure that we could sell it online. We were able to get those sales on my website. And as soon as we knew that we could get those sorts of sales on my website, hidden essentially in a gallery, we knew that there was an opportunity to build a website just for Natalie. And that's where we started. Okay. So that's the base point where we started from. Now, okay, this is looking a little bit ugly, but growing your Facebook following. Now, one of the things that I knew from day one was that we needed to focus on growing Nat's following, growing her email list, and growing her Facebook following, right? So I started a process, which I'm going to show you in a video now. Now, the reason I'm showing you as a separate video, so I'm going to stop talking and let the video run. The reason I'm doing that is Natalie's got one of the new Facebook pages, and if I switch profile, I might lose the Facebook live stream for this webinar. So I've pre-recorded the video. I'm going to show you the hack, and then I'm happy to come back and answer any questions after you've seen the video on the hack, because I'm sure many of you have seen this before, but this is literally how we went from 2,000 to today 16,000 followers just using this hack. Okay, so I'm going to show you the video, and I'm happy to answer any questions after the video is finished. Okay, so let's jump in and see if it works from the beginning. Just let me know if you can't hear it. Okay, let's make sure it's working. There's no sound. Awesome. Let me see if I can get this sound working. Not muted. All right, there we go.
My hack for growing your Facebook following, and this works whether you're running ads or whether you're not running ads. But the key to this is you need engagement. So if you're getting engagement on your Facebook posts and your following isn't growing, even if your following is growing, but you want to grow it even quicker, this is my tip. So click on any of your posts, any of your recent posts, and scroll down until you see this line here, which usually has a number. Okay, and as you can see, this post has been heavily engaged with. If I click on that, on the number, then what you get is this great screen. So I tend to work from the most engaged people. So I start with these things that aren't just a tick, right? And all you do is you scroll through and invite these people. This costs you nothing to do except time, but it is a great way to grow your Facebook following without spending any money at all. It's really easy to do. I haven't done this in a little while for Natalie's account because I've just been so busy. But if I sit down and sit down for half an hour, I could maybe invite a few hundred people in half an hour, and that is a great way to grow your Facebook following. Like I said, it costs you nothing. You can do it with any post, whether it's an ad or just a normal post on your Facebook feed. This doesn't work on Instagram, unfortunately. It only works on Facebook. So if you want to grow your Facebook following, which is where I suggest most people focus, then this is a great way to grow your Facebook following without having spent any money. And as you can see, it's literally just a question of scrolling through and inviting everybody who hasn't been yet invited. I find it easier in the browser than in the Facebook app. Much easier in the browser. I just find it's really it's a bit clunky in the app, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But this in the browser, all you need to do is click on the post, click on the number of engagements, all right, and then you can just literally sit there and scroll through and invite everybody. And this way is a really good way. And as you can see with Natalie's following, we're up over 16,000 right now. And that's something we've done by just using this simple hack. It's really easy. Anybody can do it. As long as you've got a Facebook page and you're getting engagement, you can grow your Facebook following using this hack. Okay, guys, we're going to return back to the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, I hope everybody was able to hear that. But the key with that is that any engagement you get on your website, you can turn that into a following, okay? The key is you need to be posting regularly. You need to be posting interesting stuff. And sorry, I just got distracted by a question and that just stopped me in my tracks. The key is you've got to have engagement, okay? So the question that Don's just posted, how do I see who's engaged with your ads? So the easiest way to do that is you go to your Facebook page, you go to the notifications and you scroll down, and with the ads, especially the ads that we run, the lead generation ads, you're looking for someone who's engaged with a link, right? You just scroll through all your notifications, click on each post, each notification, and work your way through. And some of those will be ads, some of those will be Facebook posts. And that's the way to find it, the easiest way to find it, Don. So I would just systematically work through, and this is something that I do when I've got plenty of time. If I've got some time, I'll just sit down and I'll work my way through all of the notifications for the last few days and click through all of the posts, all of the ads, and invite those people to sign up. And, you know, because we do, engagement, because we do lead generation, we actually we run those ads to a cold audience, which means we're finding new people all the time. So we're able to invite new people all the time. So I'm going to come to that now. I'm just going to answer Karen's question. What kind of non-paid posts get the most engagement? Question on. Honestly, the best way to get more engagement on a post, Karen, is ask a question. right? So an A/B question. I like this picture, but I'm not sure about this one. Which one do you like, A or B? That's a really good way to get engagement. Another way that I've found in the past, which works really, really well, is if you've got a new artwork or a new image, you don't know what it's called. You don't know what to call it. You ask your audience and say, hey guys, listen, I really love this image. Tell them the story about them, but you're struggling for a name. Can you help me with a name? And what I tend to do is that way to encourage people to get involved, but also to thank people for getting involved, is the person whose name I use for the name of the image in the future, I send them the #1 proof. So I do an artist proof. I get a proof just so that I can make sure that my colors are right and everything's right. And I send the person who named the print the artist proof. And that's a really nice way to say thank you, but it's a great way to incentivize people to get involved. So I'm going to keep moving. So the other thing which we did, which has been absolutely critical to our success, and in fact, it's more important than the Facebook growth, right, is our email list growth. Now, when we started in May 2019, we were able to cobble together from a few different sources, 200 odd people on an email list. So in 2019, we started with 200 people on our email list. That's it. So with those 200 people in 2019, today in December 2021, we have 16,197 subscribers. I checked that a few minutes ago, right? Now, we continue every month to invest money in ads to grow our email list. Now, I'm going to talk about our goal for that in the future, but the goal for us, I'm not interested in getting, right now we're a $100,000 business. Okay. We're going to finish somewhere around $110,000, $115,000 for the 2021 calendar year, which is great for a 3-year-old business. It's awesome for a 3-year-old business, but I see us in year 5 or 6 getting to $500,000. So we continue to invest our money in growing the business, because the growth is going to help us get to that point where we've got a $500,000 a year business. Okay. So that's where we're heading. So the email list growth is really, really important. My next goal for the email list is 20K, but it'll be 25, 30. And, hopefully by the time we get to that $500,000 a year, we've got a 50 to 100,000 people on our email list. That's my realistic goal, 50 to 100,000 people on the email list. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. What do we invest our money on? Now, I just mentioned this, but I think it's really important that while it's really cool that we're at 100K right now, our goal for next year is 250K, and our goal within 3 years is 500K turnover, right? So we're not, satisfied with the growth that we've had to date. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to get this business to a much bigger place in a few years' time. So I'm going to talk about that, Camilla. Just wait and I'll get to it. So right now, we're investing between $500 and $1,000 a month on Facebook ads. Now, in fact, in November, the month that's just passed, we invested $1,137. So we invested more than $1,000 on ads, right? But, and I will come to that, our ads are paying us money now. Now, how did we decide how much money we were going to spend? Initially, the agreement with Natalie was that we would spend between 20 to 25% of our income on marketing. So for every dollar we earn, we spent up to 25 cents on ads and on marketing. And that allowed us to grow gradually, but also meant that we weren't spending more money than we had. Okay. So we have made a profit each year. Is the profit high enough for us to make a living off? No, right? But there's a good reason for that, because we're not ready for this to be a business where we're making a living off it yet. $100,000 a year isn't enough for two people to make a living off, right? But $500,000 is. So we keep investing heavily in our ads and our growth, because the goal is, if we can get to a $500,000 a year business, that's going to easily bring in $150,000, or probably closer to $200,000 in profit, right? Which is $100,000 each, which is well and truly awesome. Okay. I'm saying sales, income is sales, Camilla. Income is sales, income isn't profit. Okay. So from when we're talking about these numbers, I'm talking about the income we get coming in, not the profit, because I'm telling you the profit is low, but our profit is low because we're deliberately spending more money to grow, because then we're not, our goal isn't 100,000. Our goal is $500,000. Okay. And I think that that's really important in your journey to know where you want to be. If your goal is to make $40,000 a year in your back pocket, right? So that's covering your income for your family, then realistically, you're probably making 120 to 130, 140,000 in income, right? But our goal isn't to do that. Our goal is to build a big business that will pay us, hopefully, somewhere between around $100,000 each. Right. Now, Natalie and I split the profit from this business 50-50. But the other thing that we've done, and this is something we did recently, we launched this in May of this year, because Natalie's art is focused around Australian wildlife, and because we're both passionate about Australian wildlife, we've actually started donating a percentage of our profits every single month. We donate every month to 2 organizations, and we report that every month to our fans and followers. Okay. So that people know that we're engaging with, and we're committed to what we're actually doing. Okay. So I think it's helpful if there's something that you're passionate with, and even more so if it relates to your art, then even if you can donate 1% of your sales or 1% of your profit to some sort of cause, it does help, because it helps expose you to different people. And both of those organizations, they publicly support us too, which is fantastic, which means we do get sales from their fans as well as from our own. Okay. So, but I think it's really important to understand that while we're at 100K right now, our goal isn't the 100K, it's the $500,000. So we're really spending a lot of money. This year, out of the 100K sales, we made about $25,000 in profit, which is nice. But what we're really excited about is, in 5 years, 3 years time, 4 years time, whenever that is, when we hit $500,000, then there's 100,000 or 200,000 in profit each. All right. So that's where we want to go. So what don't we spend money on? And I think this is just as important as what people do spend money on, because I think a lot of people get really distracted and they try different things, and they're spending money in places that either are wasting your time, or you're spending money for the sake of spending money. Okay. We do not spend any money on followers or likes. We do not spend money on followers or likes. I can't say that any clearer. Most of the money that we spend on advertising is specifically to generate leads. Now, we are also in a position where we can generate sales from our ads, but again, that's a timeline thing. If you're in your first year, don't try and spend money on generating sales from your ads, because it won't work. We can do that because we've got enough people that have been through the system, and they are in the buying phase, as well as people who are new to joining us, right? We spend a really tiny amount on engagement, right? But our ads are paying us, not the other way around. What we generate from Facebook is at least 3 times what we spend. Okay. Now I need to be clear on this. We're in a position where our ads are paying for ourselves. 99% of the people here today are not in that position. So don't think that spending money on ads to generate income is going to work for you right now. For 99% of you, it's not going to work. So don't ask me to do it. because it won't work for you. Okay. Now, I'm going to get to that, Judy. So just be patient for a moment. But, you know, spending money on Facebook ads, for most of the people that we're talking to today, the best money you can spend is on leads. Now, why do I say that? Right? Yes, I've got a business built around lead generation, but I've got that very deliberately. And that's because I learned the hard way. I learned that in those first few years, that if I spend money trying to generate income on ads, I'm just burning money, right? What I found was that once I started focusing on leads, and, you know, when we started Natalie's business, I'd already had a couple of years of experience of running my business online, right? And I've been running an online art sale business for 8 years, coming up on 9 years now, right? So I've been in this business for a while. And what I found was that you can spend money on advertising, doing a million different things. But the one thing that leads to sales quicker than any other method is building your email list. Okay. And the other thing, which is really important about a leads rather than followers or likes, is you own your email list. Your email list is your asset to keep. Whether you decide that you don't like MailChimp or you don't like Art Storefronts or whatever other platform you're on, and you decide to leave that, you always own your data, your customer data, your email list, and you can take that with you, okay? You can't do that if Facebook bans you. You lose all of your followers, you lose all of those likes, and you start from zero, okay? So you're not in a position to generate anything that is an asset from Facebook apart from leads and potentially sales, okay? But it's all about where your business is at, okay? And that's, you know, Camilla's question, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, Camilla, so just be patient. So let's talk about how our ads are paying us, right? Because I think it's really important just for you to get a feel for where we're at and what we're spending, to get it relative to where you are in your business. Now, in November last month, right? So the last month, which is the, you know, busiest month of Q4. November's always busiest for us. Okay, we spent $1,137.39 on Facebook ads, which is probably way more than almost everybody here, except for one person I know spent just as much. Okay, we generated directly from those ads $3,678. So that's income we can track in the Facebook ads that's generated income from those ads. Now, I honestly think that that number is understated. I think it's probably closer to 7,000 or 8,000, if not more, right? But the ads have definitely generated 3 times what we spent, okay? But in addition, right, we generated over 30K in sales, okay? So if you're generating $1,000 in sales and you spend $1,000 on ads, then that doesn't make any sense, okay? But we're generating $30,000 in sales, so $1,000 in ads makes a lot of sense. And, you know, if we were still using our 25% rule, then I'd be spending $7,000 on ads, right? I don't think we're at that point yet where we start spending that sort of money, but I don't think we're that far away from being able to say, okay, well, right now our ads are generating $4 for every dollar we spend. So if we increase the dollars we spend, we're going to increase our income. Right, we're almost there for that. Okay, there's a few things that I'm learning, and because I'm learning this business as well. What we've done is I've invested some money in some online retail training as well, because I want to know more about just selling in the online market that's got nothing to do with art, because I want to see what we can steal and bring it into the art market. So I'm learning that as we go. And I think that we're at the point now that we can ramp up the spend, and that was going to ramp up our sales. And it's going to be really interesting because, you know, January to March is the traditionally quietest quarter of the year. And I'm really going to see if we can generate some income based off our marketing that we do online to bolster that quiet period that we normally have. So that's going to be interesting, and I'll tell you about that in a few months' time. But for instance, this month, December is normally reasonably quiet. We've already exceeded last year's December income target, or last year's income for December. We've already exceeded that, right? And we've only spent $550 on ads. We've generated $2,000 on ads, so it's nearly 4 to 1. But we've generated in total of 13,000 sales online. So we're at a point where the marketing dollars that we're spending are well and truly paying for themselves, but we're also well and truly covering those marketing dollars in our income. Now, I know for most of you, you're not there yet. So going back to Camilla's question, which is, do you want to start spending on sales, right? So initially, I wouldn't spend any money on sales on ads for sales until you're at least covering all of your costs on a monthly basis, right? So you're bringing in enough income that you're covering all of your costs and you're growing. Your email list is starting to pay for itself. And, for a lot of people, that's between 2,000 and 3,000. For some people, it's higher. But at the end of the day, when it comes to how you decide where you spend your money at, for most people here, I wouldn't be spending any money on ads for sales, ads for purchases in the first couple of years, right? And if you do, you're only spending a tiny amount of your budget. You really need to focus on that email list growth, because you need a critical mass of buyers before you really want to spend any money on Facebook ads. Because the thing with the Facebook ads for sales is we're not marketing to people who've never heard of you before, right? We're only marketing to the people who already know you, they already like you, and they already trust you. So if you haven't got a big enough audience to do that to, then you're just wasting your money. You might as well spend it on cold ads and find new people and build that bucket of people up as big as you possibly can, so that when you're at a point where people are starting to buy, people are engaging, then you can then ramp that up by spending a little bit of money on ads. Okay. We did some testing this year for some of our clients with some Black Friday ads. Results were mixed, but the results were mixed because I think, again, people are, at different phases in their journey as far as where things go. Okay. So I'm just going to look, there's a couple of questions. So Judy, our ads generate income from sales. Okay. So, but what I'm saying is that for most people here, trying to generate income from the ads in the short term it's a losing technique. It's not going to work for you. You're going to spend more money and you're not going to have anything to show for it. Whereas if you spend your money on leads, at least you've got something to show for it. Now, really good question. And I think it's worth jumping in. I'm just going to bring it up so I can find it and share it with you. Is how do we know how much money we're getting from the ads? Okay. So Camilla's asked, are these dollars spent on lead gens? Camilla, this money we've spent here, so $1,100 and $550. In November, I ran 8-9 different campaigns, leads. We're running a really complicated system from leads right down to purchases, and it's quite a complicated ad campaign. Okay, but realistically, that money is spread across a bunch of things. The one thing we're not paying for is likes or follows. Okay. What do I mean by the email list paying for itself? London, exactly that. The email list is making more money than it's costing me. Okay, so growing the email list is costing me less than what it's making me in income. All right, so Karen's asked a really good question, and I'm just bringing it up now so I can show you. I'm just going to drag this across into this screen. All right. Now, I'm just going to start this by saying this is far more complicated than most of you need to do. Okay. So don't think that this is going to happen for you. Don't think you can do this because it won't work for you. Okay. This is a business that is already doing $100,000 a year. This is a business that is growing, and we're growing it. The next goal is 250, right? So these numbers don't really apply to you, and then how much we spent and how much depth is in these campaigns is going to be a little bit mind-boggling for you. But what I think is really important, and it's a really good question, is how do you work out how much money your ads are doing for you? Okay, so this is the right account and we're on that. Okay, so if you scroll across, so this is, I'm looking at the date range of November 2021, so last month. Okay, and you can see here, you know, how many people we reach, how much impressions, how much money we spent. Okay, so we spent $1,137.39, which is what I told you already. Okay, but over here, right at the end, there's a, you have to customize your columns. So I have this set up already, but if you didn't already have it set up, you can customize these columns and you can add, right? So the columns that we use, it's a standard event and it's purchases, and you can include the number of purchases, but you can also include the value of the purchases, okay? And then this other number, which I think is really important, which is ROAS, which is return on ad spend. So for every dollar I spend on ads, how much money does it earn me back? Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, all right? So in November, that's just gone, I had 8 or 9 campaigns running. Let me just filter them down a bit so that we, that's not going to help me. Let's do that. Had delivery. No, it's not going to help me. No. Oh, no, hang on. Let's just see if we can get had delivery in. Right. So these are the ad campaigns that were delivered in November of this year. Right. And unfortunately, it doesn't do a sum for the income. I had to do this using a calculator. But you can see each campaign, it tells me how much I spent. In this case, $82. Right. I generated $810, which is a return on investment. So $9.86 for every dollar I spent. Okay. You know, this campaign, $332. So I got $1.59 back. Now, when you look at those individually, you go, oh, you know, that's not great. But the thing is, what is also really important is this is only the numbers that Facebook has been able to track. As you know, since iOS 14, there is some things that can't be tracked on Facebook anymore. So this number is now understated. It should be higher, right? But what I can tell you is when I look at my sales data, I might have only made $3,678 based on these ad conversions, but I also know that we sold $30,000 worth of art in November. So these numbers are probably well and truly understated. Okay. So that's a distraction, and we're going to come back from that. But that's certainly purchases conversion error, which is the answer to your question, Karen. That's one of the options that you can bring up in your Facebook ads manager. Okay, Eric, I'm going to come back to that question. Okay, so Rick's question. No, we don't have a Facebook store, Rick, and I don't want a Facebook store ever. I think Facebook has enough that it's doing in my business, right? Because it's our primary, and really at the moment, it's our only advertising platform. I don't want them controlling our entire business. So we only drive traffic to our website. We do not sell in a Facebook store on Facebook or Instagram. We just don't do it, okay? And I won't do it, not unless I'm forced to, because I don't want Facebook having even more control over my business. It's just too arbitrary. Everything's managed by robots. It's really hard to talk to a real person. So yeah, anyhow, let's go back because, okay, so Eric asked the question, and this is a really good question. So a sale-orientated ad is an ad that I'm trying to get someone to purchase. Okay, my goal for the ad is for someone to buy something. And I can tell you, and I can't be clear on this because I know people are going to be confused. People are going to ask me questions about this later. For most of you, you're not ready to run sale-orientated ads. Okay, now that may seem harsh, but I'm just being realistic. You're not there yet. For the majority of people, lead generation ads are the best way. So the whole point of lead generation is to get someone off Facebook and onto your email list. Because once they're on the email list, you control it. Okay? You control everything. Facebook doesn't have anything to do with your email list. Right? So you get someone to sign up for your email list and then they're yours. They're not Facebook's. Facebook can't touch it. They're yours and yours alone. Okay? And that's the key. So when it comes to where you are in your business, for the majority of people, I would highly recommend that you only spend money on generating leads. There are a few people here, and one of them's already left, and Rick is still here, who are in the position that they can run ads to generate income, right? But for the majority of you, if you do that, you are just throwing money down the toilet, okay? If you feel like doing that, go to your wallet, find a 50 or 100 and flush it down the toilet and find out how satisfying that was. Because that's exactly how satisfying income generating ads will be for you if you try them on Facebook. And I'm not being rude, I'm just being realistic. That's how I learned the hard way. Now, what I do today helping other people, I haven't learned because I've gone to some marketing school, I've become some Facebook marketing guru. I've learned the hard way, right? I literally have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars today on Facebook ads, running hundreds and hundreds of ads. When it comes to how I've learned how to do this, I've learned it the hard way. I've wasted money. Now, if you've got 100 grand to waste on learning how to do this, then do it. That's cool. But if you don't, then don't do it. Don't waste your money on Facebook. Okay. There are ways to make Facebook work for you, and there are ways to make Facebook work only for Facebook. Okay. We're going to talk about that. I wanted to talk about this because this is such a sticking point for a lot of artists. And it's one of the pieces of advice I give to a lot of people when they come on as a client. Okay. Now, if I just scratch out of that, this is the best way to show you. Okay. So this is one of Natalie's artworks. Come on, catch up website. Right. So as you can see here, we offer 3 mediums. I've listed them as 4 because it's simpler, but we offer 3 mediums. We offer paper, stretch canvas, and glass. Okay, and glass is similar to acrylic. I think it's better, but I know that in the States you can't get it. Okay, or not get it easily. So fine art paper, we use one paper only. We don't give people options. If they want to print on paper, they get a high-end fine art paper, a 6x4. All right, look at this. This is in millimeters, but this, trust me, this is a 6x4. It's $50. We send out a dozen of these a week, if not more. Okay. We sell a 6x4 for $50. Now, as you can see, we have 4 mediums because we list our unstretched separately because it works better. We self-fulfill. Okay. So we don't have the option of print partners in Australia. So we have to self-fulfill. So it just makes it easier from a website management point of view to have the canvas separated there. You can see here, there's only 6 sizes available, right? From 6x4 up to, this is 3 foot by 4 foot. Okay. That's the 6 sizes you can buy. There are no other options. If someone wants a bigger size or someone wants something special, then they get in contact with us. All right. We could do this as a triptych. We could do this as all sorts of things. But the basics are we keep it simple. We just want to give people the simplest possible option. If someone wants something cheap, $50, they can get a print. Right. With the discount, it works out at about $43. Okay. You can see here, we don't offer any style options for paper prints. Okay. They need to take it to their own framer. We do get inquiries about framing. The reason I don't offer framing is not because I don't want to offer framing. It's just that the platform is really hard to set up. If you're self-fulfilling, it's really hard to set up for frames. Okay, so we just don't do it. We do sell frames, and I've got a customer that I'm working on at the moment, but that is really important. So you can see here, all right, we've got these options. So the cheapest print is $50. The most expensive print, which will be one of the glass prints, the top of the line glass print in this is $2,000. Okay. You can see with that, there's no options. It's ready to hang. We make it as easy as possible for people to buy. Okay. Now, this is something that I've struggled with this year because I don't understand how art storefronts have done it the way they've done it. We offer our calendars as a standard product. There are no options on a calendar. We offer 3 calendars, but there's no options. You can't choose the pictures yourself. You can't do anything. We buy them by the 100. We stock them and we sell them directly. The only option you have when you're ordering a calendar is standard or express shipping. That's it. Okay. Outside of that, every calendar that everybody gets, of the 3 different calendars that we sell, they're all exactly the same. Okay. So the idea is that people order the calendar. They don't get to choose. They don't get to muck around. It's quick and easy because look, it's just one button, add to cart or instant checkout. So that's the way I think is really important. Keep it as easy and simple as possible for people. When it comes to markups, right, and this is where my advice really differs from what art storefronts recommends. We mark up 350 to 450% on everything, right? 350 to 450%. We mark up frames. We mark up finishes. Not that we offer a lot, but if someone orders a custom frame, I'm marking it up 350 to 450%. I don't care how much it costs because I know the people who really want to buy it don't care either. Okay. We sell a 6x4 for $50. Remember that. We have had customers this year order $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 prints. I had one a couple of years ago where they ordered a $6,500 print. Okay. So don't think that there is an upper limit on what people are prepared to pay, even for prints. This was an open edition photograph. One person paid $6,500 for it. So don't restrict yourself on pricing. Okay. Don't get stuck in that hole. Mark it up so that you can make a living from it. Don't mark it up so that you feel comfortable with the pricing. If you're not comfortable with the pricing, then maybe you're close to what it should be. But generally, with a lot of artists, you probably need to double the pricing that you think that you should be selling it for. Okay. Most artists undersell themselves. Okay. Put it at a price that you feel comfortable that you can make that you don't feel comfortable, but you can make a good profit on. Right? It needs to be high enough that you're uncomfortable. Okay. We're going to increase these prices next year. We haven't had a price rise from our suppliers yet, but I'm anticipating a price rise, but I'm putting the prices up anyway. The only exception I will do is I won't increase the price of that 6x4. I'll keep that at $50. All right. 6x4 costs us like $3, but we won't increase that because we need to get to there first. So let me go back. Yeah. Okay. What makes someone ready for ads? Nancy, well, I know you've been doing ads. I think the thing that makes someone ready for ads, to run lead ads in particular, is you need to be ready to commit to your business. That's the only thing, right? You've got to commit time and money into your business. If you're ready to commit time and money into your business, then you should be running lead ads. That's simple. And like I said, our email list is 16,000. We're still spending most of our advertising dollars on generating leads and growing that email list. Okay. We've had a quiet month in lead generation because we've added more money into our marketing budget for purchases, right? But we've still grown the email list by over 400 this month. Okay. So let's go to the next step. Okay, so I'm going to answer some more questions and then we're going to talk about the other things because we're coming to the end of the hour. Jonathan's asked about the live AR and the preview worth the extra cost. Jonathan, my answer to that would be, once your website's paying for yourself, then upgrade. Okay, if it's not paying for itself, don't upgrade. Okay, don't spend the money you don't need to. Spend the money on growing your email list instead, right? Because that's going to generate you more income in the short term than adding more bells and whistles to your website. How much does she sell her originals for, Linda? A A4 pencil sketch, so a letter size pencil sketch, sells for $600 or $700, right up to, depending on the size, $10,000, $20,000. Her most recent artwork sold for $10,000. So, you know, broad range. I can't afford one of her color works yet. You can see one of Nat's ones. That one there is Natalie's. I can't afford to buy an original in color yet. I do have 3 of her originals in pencil, which I have paid for. They're not gifts. I've bought them. And you know, one day my goal would be to own an original on painted artwork, but not there yet. Okay, merch. Okay, we don't offer merch, so we don't offer other things. Now, for Natalie, we're in a slightly interesting situation because she has a couple of licensing deals. So she has a licensing deal with a company that does mugs, plates, tea towels, that sort of stuff. So they sell that stuff through retail outlets, and honestly, the margin on that's not worth us getting involved in. So Natalie gets her licensing cut, but we don't get involved in that from a sales point of view because we don't have the print on demand options that you do in the States. We offer the calendars, and I think the calendars are a really good thing. The problem with calendars that I see is we can only sell them for 7 months of the year. So we launched the sales of the calendars on the 1st of June. We're still selling them now. We're down to, the last I counted them the other day, so less than 60 of each calendar in stock. When those calendars run out sometime in the next couple of weeks, then we're done. Okay, we won't be selling calendars again until the 1st of June. So there's 5 months a year we can't sell them. So what I need to find a couple of other retail products that we can sell. Okay, so that we've got some things that we can sell year round that are around that $30 to $50 price point that are handy to sell to people who are looking for a gift. Okay, I don't want to be selling the stuff that the license companies sell for 2 reasons. 1, we want to have full control of the markup, and 2, all of our other products are certified Australian made. They're all made here in Australia, and most of them are made by local businesses. The other products, which are produced in bulk, are done in China, and we don't want to be selling those products in the same spot we're selling our Australian made stuff. So we need to find other products, and that's something, it's just the way it is. So do we want to sell more merch? Yes, but we don't want to have a million things. We just want to have a few other things that fill that gap in the period between January to May where we can't sell calendars. Now, we've sold over 50 grand worth of calendars this year, so it's crazy numbers on calendars. I don't understand your question, Linda. Shoot me an email and we'll have this conversation offline. 10,000, yeah, London, 10 grand for art's not much. Honestly, you know, there's another artist that I've done a little bit of work for, and he had one, it was the last one he sold was 45 grand, and that lasted 10 minutes on the easel in the gallery. So, you know, people spend millions of dollars on art. You want to see something ridiculous, just type into Google Gary V NFT, and there's a little video on TikTok of Gary V. He earned in 3 months from NFT. So they're digital art, right? They're not real. He made $91 million US in 3 months on digital art that he didn't even create. He just licensed it. He just had someone do it for him, right? Yeah. But, you know, so don't worry about people spending on an upper limit, right? There is, you need to have something for people at $50. You need to have something for people at $10,000 and everything in between. Okay. So, Jamie, we market almost exclusively to individuals. And almost every person that buys Natalie's work is an individual. We were going to go down the corporate path for the calendars last year, particularly, but then COVID hit and we abandoned that completely. We might look at it again next year, but, you know, honestly, we're building our own business. We don't need the corporates anymore, so we might not do it. Right, Camilla, that's a really interesting point. Right now, I'm learning about NFTs. I'm playing and trying to get some more information. I think there is a space there for the average artist, but I'm not sure where that space is yet. So my answer to that is to be continued, because I don't think we're there yet, and making it easy for the average artist to earn some money on NFTs, okay? There's certainly potential there, but how, and there's a lot of pitfalls. And, you know, I've been dabbling with it now for a few weeks, and I've made some mistakes that have cost me hundreds of dollars. And there's so many different platforms. There's so many different currencies that you could be using. There's a lot to it. It's getting interesting. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to tell you one thing. So I'm just going to answer Cheryl's question. Is Facebook the only means to advertise? What others can you recommend? Honestly, I think right now, the best place to spend your money is Facebook. Right? You might not like Facebook as a platform. You might not like Facebook as a business. But my philosophy is you spend your money where it's most effective. Okay? Now, your two big options really are Facebook or Google. I don't think there's a lot of difference as far as them as a corporate. Personally, you might disagree. That's fine. But I think as far as results are concerned, Facebook still wins. So while Facebook is the best, I'm going to continue to use Facebook. Doesn't mean I'm not looking at other options, but right now, the best place to spend your money as an artist online for advertising your business is Facebook. Okay, end of story. So Judy, that, you know, today is one of the few times I haven't really talked about relationships. Okay. And relationships are the most important thing to selling your art. Don't take it to heart when someone doesn't reply to your email. Okay. The fact that you've replied means that you've continued the conversation. They might pick up that email in 6 months' time and reply to you. They're not going to necessarily reply in the next 30 minutes. But you know what they will remember is if you don't reply to them, they will think, oh my God, I took the time, I replied to this artist and she didn't even have the courtesy to reply back, right? And that is poison in your business. So don't worry about the people that don't reply. Worry about the fact that if you haven't replied, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's my simple answer to that. Now I'm going to have to wrap up, guys, because I'm already over time. But what I wanted to do was just quickly talk through with you what we're doing right now and where we're going. Okay. So I have extended my Black Friday special again until the end of this month, right? What that means is if you book a call to talk to me about working with me, this month or next month, or even in February, you will get this year's pricing and the discount locked in. If you leave it until the 1st of January to book in a call, then not only are you going to miss out on the Black Friday special, you're also going to have a price increase. So if you want help to grow your business using Facebook leads, using Facebook ads, then I can help you. Now, if you're on Art Storefronts, the price for our 3-month program is $699. That's the special. If you're also on Art Storefronts, your price for the 6-month special, which is awesome value, is $1,149 US. Okay, that gets you 6 months of lead generation, us doing most of the work so that you can focus on the relationships. So if you'd like to do that, and I know there's some people in the room that are current clients, for those of you that are current clients and you'd like some extra help for an extra 6 months, then talk to me. And we're offering an extension of 6 months for people for even less than that, $1,149. So shoot me an email. Cheryl Lee, I've just seen you're restricted. I'd like to talk to you about that. Drop me an email, send me some screenshots of where you're restricted, because London's here. I got in past that. There are most of the people that have been restricted in the past, we've been able to find a way to get them past that. So drop me an email, Cheryl Lee, and we'll have a conversation about that. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy your holidays. I'm going to take off the period between Christmas and New Year. We're back in early January, and we'll do the first webinar in early January. And, have a great time. Look after yourselves, look after your families. And thank you so much for your support this year. I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.